They told you to dream bigger, to want more, to visualize abundance. But what they didn't tell you is that desire alone isn't enough. It demands something far greater: discipline, clarity, and deep focus. That's the truth most people miss. They chase what they want without guarding what they think. They crave transformation, but entertain contradiction, and in the process, their attention, the very force shaping reality, becomes scattered, diluted, and weak. Neville Goddard revealed something powerful. Your world is not shaped by your desires. It is shaped by your sustained assumption, and that assumption can only grow in the soil of concentrated attention. This video will change the way you understand manifestation. We're going to explore why your current level of focus may be the very thing delaying your desires. Not the lack of vision, not timing, and not even action, but focus. Stay with me until the end, because you're going to learn how to eliminate the noise, harness your mental power, and begin to direct consciousness with precision, exactly as Neville taught. You'll uncover why most people never receive what they desire, not because they're not worthy, but because they never mastered the inner stillness required to hold a clear image without contradiction. You'll see how your daily habits, the small invisible mental routines, are either aligning you with your wish fulfilled or keeping you locked in an identity that contradicts it. And more importantly, you'll learn how to shift that identity, not by force, but by attention. Neville once said, "Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world." This isn't metaphorical, it's mechanical. Your outer life is an echo of your inner attention. Your reality is not out there. It's flowing from the direction of your inner focus. Here's what most people don't realize. Every time you scroll, argue, overthink, or explain, you're spending your attention. And just like spending money, what you spend enough of disappears. Desire needs energy, not just emotional energy, but focus. Pure, uninterrupted, disciplined focus. That's the cost most are unwilling to pay. This video will walk you through Neville's most potent teachings on the role of focus in manifestation. We'll talk about how to clear the weeds from your mental garden, how to use your inner conversations to stabilize a new identity, and how to engage in daily practices that strengthen your ability to hold attention, especially when your senses tempt you to react. You'll learn why Neville insisted that imagination creates reality, but only when that imagination is sustained without contradiction. If you've ever felt like your desires are close, but not quite materializing, if you've ever wondered why things seem to shift, then snap back to old patterns. If you've ever caught yourself dreaming one thing and reacting to its opposite, then this message is for you, because the answer isn't outside you. It never was. Neville taught that consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, the circumstances, the waiting, the timing, is a shadow. The source is within, and the lever that controls it is focus. When you focus, you align. And when you align, you don't chase the outcome. It comes to you. But this kind of focus isn't loud. It's not forceful. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less. But doing it with complete inner precision. Just one clear assumption, repeated in silence, believed without doubt, felt until it becomes familiar. That's the seed of transformation. Everything else is noise. By the end of this video, you'll know how to simplify your manifestation practice down to its most essential element, attention. And when you learn how to protect that attention from distraction, doubt, comparison, and fear, you'll start to see changes that feel sudden to others, but were already complete in you. This is the art of focused creation, and it's one of the most overlooked keys in Neville Goddard's teachings. Welcome to Ignis Mindset, the place where inner mastery begins. If you're ready to take full responsibility for your mental atmosphere, if you're ready to learn how to create from a place of stillness and certainty, subscribe now. We don't chase the world here. We shift from within, and the world follows. Let's begin. Before we talk about the power of focus, we have to understand what desire truly is. Because desire, as Neville Goddard taught, isn't a soft wish or passive hope. It's not something you simply feel and forget. Desire is a demanding force. It's a call from within, not for more dreaming, but for more alignment. When a desire emerges in your heart, it's not just a fantasy to chase. It's a revelation of something that already exists within you, waiting to be expressed in form. Neville said, "You must be in the consciousness of being, or having that which you want to be, or to have before you can receive it." That statement is absolute, not partially in the consciousness, not visiting the state now and then, not wishing from the outside. You must be in the consciousness, fully, steadily, consistently. This is where most people fall short. They confuse wanting with embodying. They feel the spark of desire, but they don't commit to the state it demands. To truly bring something into form, your attention must be unwavering. You cannot half believe and expect a full result. You cannot dabble in doubt and walk in faith. The bridge between the invisible and the visible is built with focus. Nothing else will cross you over. Desire introduces the destination, but focus is the vehicle, and it must be fueled with awareness. The moment you decide on what you want, you simultaneously begin a battle of attention, because everything in your world, from old memories to other people's opinions to sensory evidence, will tempt you to look away from your goal. They will whisper the opposite. They will reflect the past. They will contradict your new identity. But Neville's teachings are clear. Your task is not to explain or fix the old story. It's to ignore it. Your only job is to remain in the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. That takes more than enthusiasm. It takes practice. Now let's talk about why focus is not optional. Why it is the creative force that decides whether your desire takes root or dissolves. Focus creates reality, not your emotions, not your effort, not your timing. Focus. Your outer world is not random. It is shaped by the sustained attention of your inner world. And the key word here is sustained, because a scattered mind produces scattered results. A divided attention cannot manifest wholeness. If you water 10 seeds for 1 minute each and never return, none will grow. But if you water one with daily care, it will bloom. The subconscious mind does not respond to occasional thoughts. It is influenced only by consistency and clarity. It takes what you dwell on and assumes that is what you desire, not what you affirm once a day, but what you emotionally and mentally feed. This is why Neville warned us to be extremely careful with inner conversations, moods, assumptions, and even casual daydreams, because the subconscious is always listening, and it accepts what is repeated, not what is preferred. This is also why so many people feel stuck, not because they don't know what they want, but because they never stay focused long enough to impress the subconscious with certainty. They affirm abundance, but worry by night. They visualize success, but entertain conversations of failure. They imagine health, but talk about illness. And so the subconscious receives contradiction. It's like planting a seed, then digging it up, then replanting, then abandoning. The soil gets confused. Nothing takes root. Neville's method is precise. Dwell in the end. Live from the state of the wish fulfilled. Persist. And refuse to be moved by the senses. Persistence isn't loud. It's quiet, silent repetition, inner certainty, a refusal to break focus, even when the outer world says nothing has changed, because you know what the outer world really is, a delayed mirror. It reflects your previous focus. It cannot show you something new until you persist in a new assumption long enough for it to catch up. Neville once said, "Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live." That change of conception doesn't happen overnight. It happens in focus, in repetition, in the decision to deny every contrary appearance and return, again and again, to the state you have chosen. That's the work. Not fixing the world, not explaining to others, not waiting for signs. Just this. Stay focused. But that kind of focus doesn't come naturally in a world of distraction. It must be chosen. It must be practiced. You must become the guardian of your mental space, filtering out every thought that contradicts your desire, replacing idle conversations with affirming ones, turning away from proof and walking by assumption. This is not repression. It's refinement. You are not pretending. You are selecting. Just as you would choose clean water over polluted, you choose focused thoughts over scattered ones because you understand the stakes. Your life follows your dominant attention. And here's the hidden truth. You already know how to focus. When you're angry, you stay focused on the cause. When you're in fear, you replay worst-case scenarios with perfect clarity. When you're in love, you dwell on the presence of your beloved. So focus is not new. You already do it. The only difference now is to focus consciously, to redirect that ability toward your chosen assumption, to place it under your control. Neville taught that imagination is your creative power, but imagination must be directed. Otherwise it runs wild, serving old beliefs, projecting fears, recreating the past. When you decide to take full responsibility for your focus, you begin to move from being a reactor to being a creator. You stop waiting for evidence. You stop responding to conditions. You stop arguing with appearances, and you begin to dwell, silently, steadily, in the state of your wish fulfilled. Focus isn't glamorous. It doesn't always feel powerful, but it is the silent architect of every change you will ever see. Choose now what you will give your focus to. Guard it as if your future depends on it, because it does. Distraction is not neutral. It is the silent thief of your creative power. Every scroll, every anxious loop of thought, every moment of emotional reactivity, these are not harmless habits. They are leaks, small, constant drains on the focused attention required for manifestation. Neville Goddard emphasized one core truth, again and again: to control the outcome of your life, you must first control your attention. This isn't poetic. It's the literal framework of reality creation. Where your attention goes, your reality grows. When your attention is fragmented, your world becomes chaotic. You think you are focusing on your desire, but half of your energy is tied up in what people are saying online. A portion is absorbed in replaying an argument. Another part is stuck in fearing what might go wrong. The result? Nothing manifests clearly. Your world reflects that same fragmentation. Social media isn't just a distraction because it wastes time. It's a distraction because it hijacks your imagination. You begin comparing, doubting, reacting. You drift into someone else's story and abandon your own. In those moments, you're no longer living from the end, you're living from the outside. Neville's approach is radically inward. He taught that the cause of your world is not in what others are doing or saying, not in the economy, not in your past. It is in the assumptions you hold and the attention you sustain. That's it. Everything else is noise. And yet the world is constantly trying to sell you distraction. It's dressed as entertainment. It's packaged as news. It's disguised as necessary thinking. But the cost is always the same: loss of focus, loss of power. To manifest, your attention must become sacred. You must reclaim it from the outer world. Train it like a muscle. Refuse to give it to anything that contradicts the life you are building, whether that's a conversation, a comment, or a craving. If it doesn't support the state of your wish fulfilled, it is a distraction. Let it go. Your attention is the gatekeeper of your inner world. Nothing enters unless you allow it. And once something enters, it begins to shape. That's how serious this is. You are not just thinking, you are selecting. You are not just observing, you are creating. And now we come to one of the most misunderstood ideas in all of manifestation: desire. Most people think that if they want something badly enough, it will come. But Neville warned that wanting, especially when it comes from lack, does not create, it delays. Because wanting implies not having, and the subconscious mind accepts that state. It reflects that absence. Wanting is longing. Wanting is chasing. Wanting is focusing on what is not. And what you focus on, you grow. Neville taught something far more powerful. Shift from wanting to being, from longing to living in the end. He said, you must dare to assume that you are what you want to be. Not hope, not plan. Assume and persist in that assumption. This isn't mental trickery, it's alignment. When you assume the state of being, everything changes. Not because the outer world shifts first, but because your inner world becomes stable. You stop reacting to appearances. You stop looking for signs. You stop proving your desire. Instead, you dwell. You enter the feeling of already having, and then you stay there. Neville often emphasized that this isn't about pretending. It's about embodying. If you desire success, you assume the identity of someone who is already successful. You don't wait for money to arrive. You inhabit the confidence, calm, and focus of someone who knows they are secure. You don't wait for love to appear. You move through your day with the dignity, openness, and joy of someone who is already loved. Your inner state becomes your home, and that state speaks louder to the subconscious than any words ever could. The law does not respond to begging. It responds to belief. When you shift from wanting to being, your energy becomes clear. Your focus sharpens. You no longer send mixed signals. You are not bouncing between hope and doubt. You are anchored, and that anchoring begins with the feeling. Neville said, catch the mood of the wish fulfilled. He didn't say catch the thought. He didn't say convince yourself. He said mood, the emotional tone, the inner flavor of what it feels like to already have. That mood must become familiar. You must visit it so often that it becomes your new normal. That's when the subconscious receives the message. That's when the world begins to rearrange. But most people never stay in the feeling long enough. They visit it for a moment in meditation, then abandon it when the phone rings or when doubt creeps in. They let the outer world set the tone again. This is where discipline becomes essential. You must decide, which mood will I feed today? The mood of lack or the mood of fulfillment? You cannot serve both. This is not repression. This is replacement. You are not denying facts. You are selecting focus. You are not forcing results. You are aligning with a new identity. Everything begins to shift when your inner world becomes stable, consistent, and aligned with the version of you who already has what they desire. That's when thoughts change. That's when reactions dissolve. That's when you stop needing signs because you already know it is done. Manifestation is not about forcing. It's about flowing from the state of already having. That state is available now, not after you get the job, the partner, or the money. Now, enter the feeling. Return to it often. Protect it from distraction. Let it shape your tone, your walk, your words. Stay there until the world has no choice but to reflect it. Because it will. Always. The outer must match the inner. But only after the inner becomes stable. Distraction breaks that stability. Desire, when felt as lack, breaks that stability. But attention, assumed identity, and persistence, these are the tools Neville left for us. And they are more than enough. Every thought you entertain shapes the soil of your reality. It isn't just a passing cloud, it's a seed. And the more you dwell on it, revisit it, emotionally react to it, the more you water it. In time, what was once just an idle thought becomes the structure of your experience. This is the principle behind Neville Goddard's teaching on the mental diet. He didn't speak of diet in the sense of food, but in terms of thought, what you feed your consciousness moment by moment. The thoughts you consume and allow to settle into your awareness either align with your desired state or contradict it. There is no neutral ground. Neville said, "A change of feeling is a change of destiny, and feeling arises from thought. If your inner conversation is filled with doubt, worry, and contradiction, then no matter how well you visualize, no matter how often you enter the state of the wish fulfilled, you are quietly undoing it with your inner commentary. To manifest the life you desire, your inner world must become a place of consistency. You cannot speak of abundance in your imagination and rehearse lack in your casual self-talk. You cannot see yourself as successful in states, then casually think, I never get it right throughout the day. These contradictions split your energy and cancel your momentum. This is why Neville placed so much importance on guarding your mental atmosphere. He knew that the creative force of imagination must be supported by an equally powerful discipline of mind. You cannot afford to entertain every thought. You must become selective. Not reactive, selective. The mental diet is not about suppressing doubt. It's about starving it. Every time you choose not to engage with worry, not to dwell on failure, not to replay old stories of pain, you are taking power away from doubt. You are refusing to feed what no longer serves you. It's not always easy. Doubt often disguises itself as realism. Worry pretends to be preparation. But in Neville's framework, the only reality worth building is the one aligned with your inner assumption. Everything else is a distraction, a temptation to return to an old self. The shift begins with awareness. You must begin noticing the tone of your thoughts. Not just what you're thinking, but how it feels. Are you building from faith or from fear? Are you reacting from the old self or responding from the new identity? If a thought doesn't align with your assumption of already being who you wish to be, drop it, replace it, redirect it. Your mental atmosphere is your garden, and it is always growing something. Make sure it grows what you've chosen. And this practice, this moment-by-moment filtering of thought, is not just psychological. It is deeply spiritual. Focus is not a casual habit, it's a sacred act. To direct your attention inward, to dwell in the end, to silence the noise of the outer world, and rest in the assurance of your desire fulfilled. This is prayer without words. This is meditation without form. This is the spiritual practice. Neville devoted his life to teaching. Stillness sharpens this power. Silence supports it. Solitude strengthens it. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, your mind becomes reactive. You're pulled into conversations, updates, notifications, all external, and gradually your inner focus begins to waver. You forget the state you've chosen. You forget the end you've imagined. But in silence, something different happens. Your inner voice becomes louder. Your assumption becomes clearer. You can hear the subtle shifts in your emotional tone. You can feel when you've drifted into doubt, and you can guide yourself back to the state of the wish fulfilled. Neville never relied on the outer world to confirm the truth of his assumption. He went within, and he stayed there. He understood that faith isn't loud. It doesn't need reassurance. It rests in quiet confidence. And that confidence is cultivated in solitude. Your desire, your goal, your vision, it deserves a sacred space within you, not a chaotic room filled with the opinions of others, not a place cluttered with past failures and hypothetical fears, a space that is clean, quiet, and devoted to what you are becoming. Focus becomes spiritual when it is treated with reverence, not rigid control, but deep respect. You respect your mind enough to not let it run wild. You respect your desire enough to not sabotage it with contradictory thinking. You respect your time enough to not spend it rehearsing what you don't want. This doesn't mean you withdraw from the world. It means you become anchored in your inner world so that the outer world no longer dictates your state. You enter conversations from a place of inner alignment. You face challenges from a place of assumed victory. You walk through life as if your desire is already true, because in consciousness, it is. And consciousness is the only reality. So what you focus on continuously, quietly, and with feeling becomes who you are, and who you are becomes what you experience. Your mental diet is the invisible framework of your world. Keep it clean, keep it intentional. Let every thought you choose nourish the state you've assumed. Silence the doubt by starving it of your attention. Strengthen your focus through sacred stillness. Treat your imagination not as a toy, but as a tool that shapes destiny. This is not just manifestation, this is mastery. Each day is a fresh opportunity to shape the unseen into the seen, to take hold of your inner attention and direct it with purpose. Neville Goddard taught that everything begins within, not just once, not in fleeting moments, but as a daily practice. Repetition is not a burden, it is the secret. Your focus must be nurtured like a flame. If left unattended, it flickers and dies. But when you tend to it, guard it, feed it with conviction, it becomes the fire that transforms your world. The morning sets the tone. It is not just a time to wake up the body, it's when you awaken your identity. The first thoughts you entertain, the first assumptions you choose to dwell in, matter deeply. Begin not with worry or distraction, but with clarity. Who am I today? What is the feeling of my fulfilled desire? Don't just think about it, feel it. Let the emotion of already having it settle into your body like truth. Neville emphasized the importance of feeling over thought. Thought might initiate the direction, but it is feeling that impresses the subconscious. So the morning must be used to establish the mood, the frequency, the tone of who you are becoming. This is not just about affirmations, it is about entering the assumption. Walk as if, breathe as if, move through your morning routine, carrying the atmosphere of the new self. As the day unfolds, the challenge becomes maintaining that tone. The world will offer distractions, some subtle, some loud. Circumstances will arise that tempt you to return to the old state, to react from habit rather than intention. This is where awareness becomes your shield. Watch your inner dialogue. Become a quiet observer of your own mental chatter. When you catch yourself slipping into doubt, worry, or contradiction, gently guide your attention back, not with force, but with loyalty. Loyalty to the new version of you is the essence of focus. It means choosing not to argue with appearances. It means refusing to explain or justify the past. It means ignoring the pull of the old story and remaining in the truth of your desired state. The old self will call out to you through thought patterns, emotional reflexes, and familiar discomfort. But every time you refuse to answer that call, you are burning the bridge. You cannot carry the weight of the past into the life you are manifesting. The beliefs that formed the old identity must be released. The emotional reactions that once defined your story must dissolve. This is the cost of transformation, not effort, but separation. Neville did not teach force or resistance. He taught replacement. You do not fight the old, you outgrow it. You focus so consistently on the new identity that the old becomes irrelevant. And this requires consistency, not perfection. One moment of awareness, one act of self-direction is more powerful than 1,000 repetitions done with doubt. And then in the evening, when the world grows quiet and the body prepares for rest, you enter the sacred moment. Neville called sex, the state akin, to sleep. This is when the conscious mind begins to relax and the subconscious becomes receptive. It is the most fertile soil for planting your assumption. Visualize a scene, short, simple, and loaded with feeling, that implies your desire is fulfilled. Perhaps it's someone congratulating you. Perhaps it's you walking confidently in your new role, your new life. Whatever it is, make it vivid. Repeat it gently, not as a chore, but as a lullaby for your subconscious. Let it imprint. But more than technique, Sats is a spiritual act. It is the daily return to your inner truth. It is a declaration to yourself that no matter what the outer world looks like, You are loyal to your end. You are faithful to the unseen, and you trust that what you embody inwardly must reflect outwardly. In due time, this cycle, morning intention, daytime awareness, evening reinforcement, is not complex, but it is powerful. It builds the foundation of focus. It trains your mind to become an instrument of creation, not confusion. And over time, something remarkable happens. You no longer need to force belief. It becomes natural. You begin to walk, speak, and act as the version of yourself you once only imagined. Your reality begins to shape itself around this inner change. Not because of luck, not because the world decided to be kind, but because you persisted in the assumption. Neville's work returns again and again to one truth. You become what you repeatedly focus on, not what you want, not what you wish for, but what you consistently dwell in, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. If you focus on lack, you live in lack. If you focus on your past identity, you live from that place. But when you shift your inner state and you hold it, not just for minutes, but for days, for weeks, for as long as it takes, reality follows. It has no choice. The results you see are simply the harvest of your focus. If you want a different harvest, you must plant different seeds and tend to them daily. No need to chase, no need to prove, only to become, not just once, not in moments of clarity, but as a way of life. Neville didn't just teach imagination as a technique, he lived it as a lifestyle. Every day, he chose the inner over the outer, the assumed over the observed, the becoming over the remembering. And so must you. There is no middle ground. You are either watering the old self or the new. Every thought, every reaction, every emotional pattern. The version of you that already has it, that version is waiting, and you meet them through focus. Not in someday, but now. Always now. Your future is not in front of you. It's inside you. Waiting to be chosen. Waiting to be embodied. Waiting to be focused upon. Again and again until it becomes undeniable. Try focused identity for just 7 days. Become unavailable for anything that contradicts your desire. Choose moment by moment to stay loyal to the version of you who already has it. Let this be the beginning of a new standard, where your thoughts are not scattered, but sacred, where your energy is not wasted, but directed with precision. This is the foundation of true manifestation. Comment below. I choose focused creation. Let it be your declaration, your line in the sand. If this message stirred something within you, like this video and subscribe to Ignis Mindset, where we explore powerful teachings on inner transformation, grounded in Neville Goddard's wisdom. Your future doesn't need more desire, it needs more focus. Where your attention goes, your life follows.